I think the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is an incredible album. I think top to bottom, I don't think there's any holes in it. I can listen to the whole thing. The shit sounds as good as it did back then. Right now, I agree with that 100%. The greatest hip hop album of all time, I don't know about that. And it's not because Lauryn Hill is a woman. It has nothing to do with that, because she'll bar up 85, 90% of people, if you think about it, if you listen to that album as a reference point. So it's not about that. But I want to ask you guys, do you think that's a reach to say that that's the greatest rap album of all time? It's not about the top 10. Like, they really said this is the greatest rap album of all time.
I know it sold a shit ton of records.
Yes, it did.
That typically, for a lot of people, and it coming from Rolling Stone, which is kind of, as cool as Rolling Stone has, can be, it's also a popular culture magazine. You know what I mean? So I think that has to be taken into consideration as well.
Okay.
But to answer your question, no, I don't think that it's the greatest hip hop album of all time. And is it a reach?
Yeah, that's my question. Do you think that's a reach? Or is she in the conversation? Like, should she at least be in the neighborhood, in the cul-de-sac? That's what I'm talking about. Like, is this a reach to throw her out there, or is that album that fucking good?
Top what? Like, like top 10
ish, right?
Maybe, I don't know. Top 20, yes.
Okay. I'm just asking because
I'm talking about that album, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not just being fair. Like, I remember listening to it. It didn't do it. There's some great songs on there, but it's not in my personal top, 20 or whatever.
Anything, right? At this point.
No, I mean, it's it is what it is. To me, it's just a kind of like it was a really well done.
Yeah.
Might be one of the last no, I won't say one of the last, it's not true. But a really well done popular hip hop album,
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good album.
All right. I'm not album. Okay. Jay Diff, talk to me, because
20 might be a reach too. I don't know, man. I don't know. That's tough. But yeah, I don't think definitely not top 5. Definitely not top 10.
Bro, it's all subjective. That's why I wanted to just run it by everybody, because
just thinking about it as we're talking. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, Jay Diff, talk to me, man. Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, greatest rap album of all time via Rolling Stone. Are we reaching here? Is she in the neighborhood? Is this disrespectful? Talk to me.
Can't hear you.
First of all, it's a good album. It's a great album, even.
Do we lose somebody?
No, we thought we lost you.
Yeah, let me. What you say?
We didn't catch the beginning.
Did everybody hear everybody? I'm sorry.
Try it again.
Did you hear me?
Yeah.
Can now.
Now we can hear you.
Can you start over?
What I was saying is, it's a great album, but it is not. It's not that.
I feel like you about to say not close.
There's no way. There's not even a nice way to put it. That this is not the greatest hip hop album of all time. Like, shows you how out of touch these publications are.
Can I interject really quick?
Go ahead.
Yes.
So if this is the same article that I'm looking at, this isn't the greatest albums of all, or 8 greatest rap albums of all time. This is a list of the greatest albums of all time, and it happens to be that Lauryn Hill's is number 10, which happens to be the first rap album, but it's not like a list of the greatest rap albums of all time, if this is the same one I'm looking at, which does kind of make the argument a little bit different. To me that's a little different.
Maybe I misread it. I thought it had it listed of rap albums.
Selling us with
of the rap albums listed, it was number 1.
Yes.
Right.
So it was 10 overall of the greatest albums ever, but it was the first rap album that was listed. So it wasn't a list of rap albums.
Right.
That makes
in perspective, but still at the same time, I'm not looking at Miseducation of Lauryn Hill as the greatest hip hop album, if that's the one that they decide to put first on that list.
They still referenced it first. Right.
The sentiment still stays the same as far as being out of touch of what a hip hop album is. Because I mean, what would you call Lauryn Hill as far as artist wise?
I can't call her just a rapper because she sings and she's such a
Call her
great singer and
/
songwriter.
MC. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't call her just
in Pot. Like, you know, he was on the 𝗀𝗱𝗱 album cover as one of the top 10 freshmen of what, like 2012, 13. I don't remember.
He was out of place like a mug.
Out of place.
On that list.
Because he's essentially a musician. He's playing a bunch of instruments.
Right.
He has
I think it was actually after that
sing song. What'd you say, Spoolz?
I was saying I think they actually made him a freshman. I think he was a freshman the same year, like 21 Savage and Lil Uzi Vert and all them.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
But it's almost like you can't classify those type of people or artists as hip hop. And in my opinion, Good Kid, Mad City is a better hip hop album than Kid, Mad City. I mean, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. If we're doing that, there's a lot of albums I can say in my personal opinion that are better than that album. But just
let me ask you this. Let me ask you guys this. As people, as you know, look at an artist, a DJ, a rapper, producer, whatever. I say this over and over again, and people get mad. I really don't care. There's a certain way that you listen to and look at music that's going to be different from an artist standpoint, or if you're in the culture, it's just going to be different. Some way things are going to be tweaked, and you're going to look at things a little bit different. Do you think they are leaning more towards the cohesiveness and quality of how this album came out versus lyrics and rapping and you know, bars? Like, because if you look at that project top to bottom,
and
like
impact,
the sequencing and everything, and impact, like Spoolz said, talked about the sales. You look at all of that and you take that into consideration, that album is really good. You look at it from that.
It even goes to like the number 2 hip hop album on this list is number 15, and it's Public Enemy's "It Takes a Nation."
Okay,
so which is an impactful album. You know what I mean?
So it's very impactful. Very impactful. But do you guys see what I'm saying? Like, is it? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot to go into with that album. If you want to look at it from an album standpoint, there's a lot. So I'm not saying they're right. I'm playing devil's advocate here because
not the best hip.
Doesn't move you, Spoolz. Talk to me, Jay Moore. Like, where are you at with this?
Well, first of all, being that I've been a fan of hip hop for so entirely long, as much as I love Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, even if I'm going to classify it as a hip hop album, which honestly I don't, it's not even in my top 20. And as cool as Rolling Stone tries to be, because, you know, they put out these lists every so often and they move things up and down, you know, because I think the number 1 album on this particular list was Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On," and that's very topical, you know, for right now and the things that are going on in society.
Okay.
You know, it's a good point, but
I wouldn't even. There are so many albums that, as far as hip hop is concerned, that I would put ahead of The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, because I think they're really giving a certain level of credence to the amount of awards it won and to the amount of records that it sold, for saying that it's the greatest hip hop album on that. Not really, because they're not really awarding greatest hip hop album, but when they say that that's the first hip hop quote unquote hip hop album that is on their list.
That says a lot if you think about them referencing this is the first quote unquote rap album that they picked. That's putting a lot of weight on that album.
It is.
They're doing an entire list.
It is.
Like,
that weight is probably why we haven't really gotten a proper Lauryn Hill album since that 1998. Okay. Because we put so much weight on that album. Like, what are you going to follow that up with? You know, what are you really going to do after that? You know, I think, you know, because people talk about all the wild shit that Lauryn Hill does as far as her showing up late to performances and showing up to performances. They put a weight on her that I don't think most people could come back from. You know,
Yep.
It's kind of sad because, you know, like I know there's some people who love that acoustic MTV Unplugged album that she did. And I remember I gave that album to my sister when I was working in radio, and she gave it right back to me because she was like, "This shit is depressing."
Oh wow. I kind of like
but
that.
You know,
like
like
that album. Yeah.
When I think about great hip hop albums, I think of Good Kid, Mad City. I think of Follow the Leader. I think of Straight Outta Compton. I and these are just off the top of my head. You know, I think of Illmatic. I think of Daily Operation. I think all those records are better.
Let me ask you guys
than Lauryn Hill's The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
This is a gentrified all-time list.
Links. Yeah. So
let me ask you guys this though.
Like I said, that does, like, as much as I love Lauryn Hill, that shit don't even crack my top 20.
Let me ask you guys this though. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Is the Miseducation of Lauryn Hill a better album than Illmatic?
To me, yes.
I think that's what we're dealing with here, though.
But so that's what I was going to get at. Like, I think this list, I joked, said it was a gentrified list, but it's, I feel like it's,
it is a gentrified list.
It's like they're not factoring all the elements in that what make a hip hop album a good album. They're factoring in the musicality of everything all together, which is why Miseducation of Lauryn Hill is number 10. It's also why number 19 or number 17 is My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. It's why number 19 is To Pimp a Butterfly. You know what I mean? Like it's a very jazz. It's missing a lot of the other elements. But is
Daily Operation even on this list at all? Is Illmatic? Right. I mean, Illmatic's on the list.
If Illmatic's not on this list, that takes credibility away. I think.
I have no idea.
Okay, is Where's Going Good for Cuban Links and Where's Supreme Clientele?
Right.
What'd you say, Spoolz? I missed it.
Oh, I said I guarantee Illmatic isn't on that list. Like,
you don't think so?
Not Rolling Stone list. No.
The Rolling Stone is for a certain demographic, and it always has been.
I got you.
Where's America? If America's Most Wanted is on the list, I don't want to hear about this.
Well, people that are working on that magazine are probably the same people that have been working on there for years, as far as executives making decisions or over the higher ups are.
Okay.
I mean, it's called Rolling Stone. If you think about the rock group Rolling Stone, are you having them tell you what the greatest albums are?
Okay.
Stankonia is number 64.
That's bullshit. Outkast
Where's
went
Aquemini? Is Aquemini above Stankonia?
I don't know.
Is Aquemini even mentioned?
The list is hard to navigate. It's like multiple pages and shit. So I don't know.
It's just like you guys said. Like when you think about it, Lauryn Hill being referenced, the first hip hop quote unquote album being referenced. Like, that says a lot. As you guys talk about Rolling Stone, who they are, and we talk about, lists and things of that nature, it kind of speaks to, who they are and the criteria. Everybody's criteria is always going to be different. It could be a list that has, 36 Chambers is the first rap album listed when they do 100 albums from whatever, right? So everything is subjective, but I thought that them selecting Lauryn Hill first, it kind of was a curveball because she has bars on that album, but it's not a 100% rap album. I think that speaks more to
it's a safe pick for them.
Is that a safe pick?
Yeah,
maybe that's the word I'm looking for. Is that a safe pick?
It's a safe pick because one, it was a pop album essentially because it was very popular. They probably haven't even really listened to a lot of these albums that we hold up high.
Okay.
Probably have to reach out to somebody else to even tell them what albums to add to this list.
I dropped a whole bunch of numbers in the chat. I've been finding some. Illmatic is on here. It's number 44.
Okay.
Good for Rolling Stone. There you go.
And Aquemini is 49.
Shout out to Nicole. She said Rolling Stone is no barometer for the culture. So it starts out as apples to oranges already.
Yeah, she's right.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
If you've enjoyed this segment of the New Old Heads podcast, make sure to join our live show every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern at twitch.tv/bringingdowntheband and join our private Discord community with talks on hip-hop, music, news, and everything else.